Namaste. Most of you know who I am, especially the adults here. For the younger ones who may be wondering what is Grandpa doing on the stage, my name is Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. You may also recall that I died on January 30th, 1948, shortly after India became independent. That I am here may be a figment of your imagination or a touch of magic from my dear Rani David. But I suppose I will always be around for as long as you have me in your hearts. In my time, they used to call me Bapu or father. When I asked them why, they would say, "Oh, because we love you. You are like a father to us." But I know their secret. When I would walk so fast they could not keep up with me. They thought if they called me Bapu, I would think that I was old and that would make me slow down. I tricked them. I started walking even faster and they all had to run behind me. When I was young, I was such a troublemaker that my family sent me to England to become a lawyer, thinking that would make me more responsible. I became a lawyer, a responsible lawyer, and went to South Africa and continued making trouble, this time for the British. I was like a hot piece of coal that would make things uncomfortable, no matter which pocket they would put me in. They got fed up with me and sent me back to India, thinking that would cool me down. Were they wrong? I burned down their house in India. I have lived through some of the most difficult times of India's struggle from British rule. My heart fills with joy to see how India has grown today. The advancements in technology and access to education in the progress of women as vital members of society, and above all, a country awakening consciousness in the world. I am very proud. However, I am also deeply saddened to see all this has been achieved, often without the guiding principles of truth and morality. In my struggles, I have always insisted that the means must remain true to the goal. To me, purity of action was as important as the goal itself. Adhering to the principle of truth meant more to me than victory by any other means. To achieve freedom, we struggled, not with the might of our physical strength, but with the strength of our determination and moral code. That the world took notice of us then was not because we were superior in numbers and could have crushed our enemy with our physical strength, but that we had the courage to endure the blows, the imprisonments, and the hardships with our moral strength and persistence to remain in the end worthy and deserving of the freedom that was so dear to us. Today, I have two simple messages for you to reflect upon. The first is poverty. Poverty is the worst form of violence. There is nothing more potent that can destroy the will of a human being to endure, to struggle, hope, or survive. I ask you, as a nation, have we done enough to alleviate poverty? You may say that through education, the lives of the poor have been greatly improved. But India lives in her villages, and the terrible poverty there can only be removed if their local skills can be revived. In my days, the farmers struggled for freedom from the demands of the British landlords to grow indigo. When Britain turned to polyester and indigo was no longer needed, nobody would buy them, and the farmers were left to starve. My heart is heavy to hear of the plight of the Indian farmers today, and the high rate of suicide among them that has periled the very fabric of rural India. What is worse is that the primary reasons for farmers committing suicide in our free India are no different from what they were in my days. Not being able to pay back debt owed to moneylenders, low and uncertain income due to crop failure, not being able to pay for a daughter's wedding or to perform last rites of a parent, and lack of opportunities to make secondary incomes to survive when crops fail. These conditions were widespread when India was languishing under British rule. And we said we would make it better when we had our independence. Have we really done that? Have we really done all we can to help and uplift the hands that feed us? The second is ethics. In our pursuit of progress, what is our moral compass telling us? Are we on the path of truth? Are we able to trust those who represent us in the government? Do we care enough to stand up and raise our voices and do something when we see injustice, dishonesty, or intimidation around us? In my struggles, whenever I despaired, I remembered that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they seem invincible, but in the end they always fall. Think of it always. Satyagraha was my main weapon in my struggles. Peaceful, non-violent resistance against injustice in the face of all odds, even death. We used it in our salt march to the shores of Dandi and the violence at Dharasana, where more than 350 peaceful protesters were beaten down by the police. But they did not yield. All of us knew that the consequences of defying the British might could result in imprisonment, harsh punishments, or even death. We stood our moral ground in our resistance. In the end, we forced the British Empire to leave India. This was the power of our Satyagraha. Has this sacrifice of so many of your forebears resulted in a nation that can be proud of its moral fiber, socially, professionally, politically, and ethically? What can you do to make things better? It is important to dream of the future, but it is even more important to remember the past, for the past will guide you like a compass, always helping you determine if your pursuit has been worthy morally and ethically. I wish all of you happiness in the freedom you have been bestowed. May you always seek fulfillment in the path of good moral standards and honest efforts. Be the change you wish to see in this world. The world will follow. It did in my time. Namaste.